Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Ella.
Hello.
I don't know what you were making a shocked expression at.
Neither do I.
Because I was like, I had to think halfway through. I was like, did I change my intro without realizing it?
No, I think I blacked out. I don't know. I can't remember pulling a shocked face.
Roll the tape
remember
back.
pulling a face.
You're just
It's the
gonna get the
concussion from
screenshot.
smacking my head on the wall.
Yeah. It's what happens when you go see Joseph Will play and then you come back with news. But yeah, speaking of which, we will talk about that. We'll also talk about the Leafs a little bit and a couple of other things, including the Hockey Canada jerseys that I predicted were going to be ugly, and I was right.
You were very right.
As always. But first, we'll talk about the Leafs. I actually will say we're going in with no notes. I am coming off of a road trip hangover. How do hockey players do this all the time? I was like thinking, like, how do hockey players do this all the time? And then I remembered they're not the ones flying the plane.
Yeah, I'm quite glad they're not the ones flying the plane.
I actually want to know if any hockey players do have their have a pilot's license?
Which Leaf would we trust to fly a plane with
John.
no? Yeah. Like, if you just put him in the cockpit and went, right, John, fly this plane, I would be fairly confident that he would do a decent job.
I think also because it's like, I think John Tavares is just one of those guys that's like good at everything he tries.
Just immediate.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not like the best at it, but like, you know those people that like, they're like, I don't know how good I'll be. And then they do a really good job, and you're like,
yeah, you just
hell?
have like the little, the little like scowl.
But I do think John Tavares could fly a plane. I also say that because like he does have a cottage, so he has a boat. Which I know a boat is very different than an airplane.
But if you can drive a boat, you drive boats.
You drive boats, yeah.
Yeah. If you can drive a boat, you can probably fly a plane.
It's the same mechanics. Like, it's the same concept of, like, buoyancy and lift are not that far off. There's about to be someone who, like, studies physics in school who's about to get real mad at me for that.
It's fine.
Fair warning, did not take physics, ever. But yes. But yeah, the Allentown trip was a success, I guess, in terms of, you know, we made it back in one piece. We saw all the hockey games we wanted to see. The drive was fine. I mean, it did snow. It was kind of snowing when we were in Buffalo about to cross the border, and then as soon as we crossed the border, it started snowing and like sticking, and it was like, welcome home. But yeah, I guess we'll talk about the Leafs. Yeah, I honestly am just so tired. I had no energy to write out notes for anything. And also, to be fair, did not watch really the game against Boston. Only saw score updates and sometimes watched like the goals if they were posted on Twitter from the Leafs, and yeah, that's it. I will say, so like the Leafs lost. I do know it was
shocker.
Yeah, shocker. I do know it was Jeremy Swayman in net against Anthony Stolarz, but then Anthony Stolarz got pulled. And Dennis Hildeby went in. That's the thing. That's the thing we'll talk about, I guess, first off, is Caden Primo was placed on waivers. And was immediately then claimed back by Carolina, I should say. And then so the Leafs called up Dennis Hildeby. And I gotta say, why didn't we do this from the start?
Yeah. It would have made sense.
I understand, and we kind of defended this decision. I think we defended this decision a little bit more with James Reimer when he signed to his PTO of like, hey, if you have a goalie who gets hurt, like if Anthony Stolarz gets hurt, you are down to 2 AHL goalies as your NHL tandem, right? And so that's why you brought in James Reimer on a PTO, and he played half of a preseason game. I don't even think he played a second half of a preseason game, allowed 4 goals, and the Leafs lost the game in the preseason. So like I think the concept of James Reimer made sense. Then that concept didn't pan out, so then they had to repivot and we're like, oh, what can we get? We can get Caden Primo off waivers. Okay, yada yada yada. And then Caden Primo proceeded to not be able to stop a beach ball.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, well, maybe we should have just done Dennis Hildeby the entire time, because I think there internally within the organization, there's a little bit more trust with Dennis Hildeby. Because do I think that had Caden Primo been backing up Anthony Stolarz, would Caden Primo have gone in against Boston? Maybe not. And people are gonna be like, Emma, you're wrong. No, maybe not. But yeah, like I will say also, there are some pretty scathing. This is more so about the Carolina game, which I guess came back to back. But I have nothing really much to say about the Boston game except for like the Leafs almost came back to win it. Like they were at one point I think it was halfway through the third period or something. And they were down 1 goal, and you're like, oh, they could come back. And like literally, quite literally, when John Tavares scored and they're down 1, and you're like, oh, they might, make a comeback here. Fraser Minton scores his revenge goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And a goal that, like, I think if you put money on Fraser Minton goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs, surefire bet you should have done it. Should have done it. It was a good goal too, and it's one of those ones where you go, oh my god, for Mintz. And it's one of those ones where you start cursing Brad Treliving for making that trade in the first place. I think, obviously you think about the fact that the Leafs did need to improve on defense. And like, I don't think that's something that people can argue. Like, that's the problem with, I'm not so much going to speak on the Scott Laughton trade, but more so on the Fraser Minton trade, where like, Brandon Carlo trade, I should also say as well. But like, there was no argument from anyone that the Leafs needed to improve defensively last season, especially at the deadline, coming into the deadline. Like, and that wasn't an argument that I assume people were going to disagree with. Right? Like and I understand sports fans love to do revisionist history on everything. Like it's so easy to do the what if, or you shouldn't have done that move or whatever, as if GMs have a crystal ball that they can look into. I will say, I think everyone and their mom knew that Fraser Minton was on the doorstep of becoming an NHL regular.
Yeah.
Like, he was very close. And I mean, I guess also, like, Nikita Gurbankin is in the same boat is an NHL regular with the Philadelphia Flyers right now. But I think, and I think that's why we campaigned so hard against trading them, was because you still need youth if you want to maintain an aging core, at least, right? Like,
yeah.
Why we campaigned so hard against trading Easton Cowan, and that wasn't on the table, or even Ben Danford, of like, you need to keep the cupboards full, and if you have 2 young guys who are in their 20s on the doorstep of becoming NHL regulars, unless you know what you're getting is so surefire, then I don't know why you would make that move. Now, it does make sense of like, we needed a defense, so trading, when you have a plethora of forward prospects, it makes sense to make that trade. But what I think for me personally, because of the success that Minton is having in Boston, I think that one's a harder pill to swallow than losing Gurbankin in the Scott Laughton trade, despite the fact that we have not seen much of Scott Laughton this season due to the fact of injury. And he left this game against Boston after a hit from Nikita Zadorov, hurt after coming back from injury like the game prior. Bobby McMahon went up and fought Nikita Zadorov for that, which is good job for Bobby McMahon, his 3rd career NHL fight. I also think as well, like, and I'm going to comment a little bit more because then Bobby McMahon went after a guy in the game against Carolina for a late hit on Nick Robertson. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think, all last season we were talking about how Bobby McMahon needs to use his size, and there was 2 examples of him at least reminding guys of like, hey,
watch out.
watch out, and using his physical presence for something. And I do like that. I do think he's been playing a little bit more of a physical game than he has in previous seasons, and I appreciate that. I think that's great. But with I think what hurts especially the most with the Fraser Minten trade and like losing Fraser Minten to Boston is the return is Brandon Carlo. And as much as you had hope, like you were wanting Brandon Carlo to be kind of the expectation of a solid guy to pair with Morgan Riley, to be a little bit more of a stay-at-home defensive guy that can allow Morgan Riley to play a little bit more forward and to play a little bit more offensively, like Morgan Riley is very good at doing. To then not have Brandon Carlo be that, and to be not the strongest defensively this season so far, I think is why people are talking specifically about, hey, do we regret trading Fraser Minten? Because here is essentially what could be your third line center.
Yeah.
Right? And something where the Leafs have struggled to find a third line center for years, and they finally drafted one, developed one, and you had one and you traded him away. And I think that's kind of what's frustrating all in all is, yes, you had to solve an issue, but another issue that you were facing, you traded away your solution to it.
Yeah.
And
it's like solving a problem by creating another problem is actually not solving any problem at all.
No, it's just shifting your focus onto like, it's like a Whac-A-Mole kind of thing, where like, I think that's kind of what the Leafs, I think, I want to say, and maybe there are Leaf fans who will disagree with me on this, but like, it's kind of felt like in this Matthews, I guess we got to call it the Matthews Nylander era. We can't really call it the Matthews Marner Nylander era anymore, but I guess we just have to call it the Matthews era, I guess. In this Matthews, which is very strange. In this Matthews era, it's kind of been like you've been playing like the Leafs organization, or for fans to watch it, it's kind of like you're watching a game of Whac-A-Mole, where like you have all these solutions which are the little moles, and you are wanting to fix them. So by fixing them, you go and hit the Whac-A-Mole. But then when you hit it, a new one pops up to replace it. So like you could go back to, the rookie season, and you're like, you have a lot of problems to solve, but you slowly start chipping away at them by like, oh, this team needs to get older. Okay, you bring in players like Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau, and you address that issue. And oh, but this team needs to get faster. So then you try and address that issue. Oh, this team needs goaltending. Oh, you try to address that issue. Oh, the team needs better defense. Okay, so you try to address that issue. The team needs better depth. You try to address that issue. The team needs... And then you're circling back to the team needs more defense. Like, it's this constant battle, and I get it. Not every team is going to be perfect. There is going to be holes in every single lineup. A Stanley Cup winner isn't necessarily you've built the best team to ever play, necessarily. You've just built the team that can overcome all of its obstacles the best, in terms of can stay hot and can get hot at the right time. Is able, gets lucky with injuries, which isn't, you gotta admit, is a factor here. It's like, if you can have a really great team and can have people get hurt, and then you're just unlucky. But it's all these things where it's unfortunate, like, it's frustrating to watch as fans, because you're watching issues now start to pop back up again, essentially, that you were like, I thought we addressed this, why is this a problem again now, sort of deal. And I think, obviously as well, you can argue there's some coaching, and I think the frustrating thing for fans, I guess, is why I'm saying this might be a coaching thing, is like, you have essentially, now I know Chris Tanev is hurt, but like, this has been a problem now where almost halfway into November. We're halfway into November this week. We're officially a month into the season yesterday for the Leafs. Saturday for the rest of the NHL, but you're officially like a month into the season, and you think, oh, and now it's time to think, okay, like what's actually wrong? And I think a common one right now is defensive mistakes. And, now Craig Berube addressed it after the game against Carolina last night, saying, we've made some really big defensive errors. John Tavares used the word immature, which I think is nuts. Not nuts, but not nuts to say. I think it's accurate to say, but I think it's kind of nuts to say in concept of the fact that most of this team is 26 years old or older. You cannot call a team of a bunch of 26 and overs immature. Not that you can't because you're not allowed to, but you shouldn't be, because that team should not be immature, because that team is not, like, theoretically, if you look at a roster of guys who are starting to wear the label of NHL veteran, which you have quite a few on that roster, they shouldn't be playing immaturely. Like, that's their, what's that issue? And then also as well, the you have the same decor as last year. Like, you haven't, it is quite literally the same top 8 defensemen in your organization that you had the season prior.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, the personnel on the ice hasn't changed. So why is there an issue with the on-ice product? Now, the way, and I don't like blaming coaches when, like, sometimes it's like players are making obvious mistakes. Felipe Myers had a terrible one, like had a couple terrible ones against Carolina that I saw that I was like, this is awful. One of them led directly to a goal. The amount of breakaways that were allowed by the Leafs last night against Carolina was embarrassing.
Shocking.
And the whole team owes Dennis Hildeby a dinner or 2 or 3.
Yeah. You should never have to pay for a dinner ever again.
Like, why is he facing 45 shots in 60 minutes?
You just shouldn't.
And like, the thing is he allowed 5 goals. It still looked like he was standing on his head. That's the problem. At the end of the day, if you look and you're like, oh, a guy allowed 5 goals, it looks terrible. But you have to actually watch the kind of chances he faced and the shots that he was forced to stop and think, hey, I'm surprised this didn't look a lot closer than the 9-1 game on Saturday between Edmonton and Colorado. Right?
Yeah.
But I will, and maybe it's a coaching thing, and I don't want to say it's a Craig Berube issue. I almost want to say that it's potentially a Derek Lalonde issue, because that's what's new. And I know maybe that's the easy way out of this problem of, instead of, hey, maybe we should address players on the blue line. I mean, I've seen people say to start trading Morgan Rielly again. We've looped back to that conversation.
Guys, please.
And it's not from people I would have thought. Like, yeah. I was like, I did not realize you did not like Morgan Rielly until this week. Sort of deal, where I was like, oh, okay.
Like, I don't know, guys. I don't think Morgan Rielly's the problem here.
I don't think Morgan Rielly is the problem. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, you're going to then blame his part. No, I'm going to blame whatever system Derek Lalonde has set up, because I think I don't want to blame the coach. I think, oftentimes blaming the coach, I believe, is the easy way out. But, like, what is different than last year? The only thing that's different is replacing Lane Lambert with Derek Lalonde. The Leafs have, and it's, And I think a lot of people are like, why aren't the Leafs winning games? And it's like, it's not because their lack of scoring. They lead the league. They lead the league, I should say. Sorry. They lead the league in goals scored. They also are second in the league for goals against.
Yeah.
So then you look and you go, wow, they're like, the Leafs are also probably playing the most high event hockey we've ever seen in the first month of the season. Like, what do you like? That's such a crazy thing to read out. Is that the Leafs lead the league in goals scored. The Leafs also are second in the league in goals allowed.
Guys, what are we doing?
We can't be on both ends of this
serious.
thing.
This is so unserious.
So it's a thing too where it's like, if you even, go to bottom, you get out of that top 25th percentile of goals allowed in the league, suddenly, like, how much further up in the standings do you think this team would get? Right? Because it's not like they're not scoring. I think people are focusing to, like, it's, Matthew Nyes is 7th in the league in assists with 14. Actually, I think he's
crazy.
he might be more now, but this was a stat I saw yesterday. But with 14, 7th in the league in assists. Do you want to know how many he got the past 2 seasons in the same amount of games? So the first 16 games of the season. 4 last year and 3 the year prior.
And look at him go.
He made a move against Carolina. Now essentially that's all I'm gonna say about the Boston game. That is a disappointing loss, especially to a team like Boston. Boston is on kind of a hot streak right now and is performing, I think, a lot better than people expected them to perform, but it is unfortunate in that way for them to not be doing so well. But now onto the game against Carolina. Matthew Nyes pulled a move on a goal. This ended up in a goal. His secondary assist, I should say. So I think it was one of the William Nylander goals. His secondary assist, he played the puck off his foot, and I literally watched him do that, and I was like, oh my god, it's like if Mitch Marner was 220 pounds.
Yeah.
I quite literally was like,
insane.
And it's the rise that he's had, and I think this was a conversation that we were having probably in the preseason, and I think a lot of people was like, who has to be the guy on that top line to step up without Mitch Marner there? It was like a thing where it was like, okay, are you that whoever you're going to put on that right side, well, now it's William Nylander, which is fine. But like, I think going into this, I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, if it's Max Domi, if it's Matthias Maccelli, if it's Nick Robertson, like whoever is in that spot, they're not going to have the same playmaking ability as Mitch Marner. That's fine. Whatever, you have to accept that. But you also have to think about the fact of like, okay, but like there are then now, because that guy isn't going to be the same playmaker, you need a guy like Matthew Nyes to go in and make more plays, not just go in and be a puck retriever or big body in front of the net, to now start to contribute on chances and help set up scoring chances. And he's done that this season tenfold.
Like he's
reached the expectations, and I think it's amazing to watch his growth. And I think I think a lot of people were paying attention to him last year. But I think now more and more people are paying attention to him this year. And with the start that he's had, I think I don't know if he'll go to the Olympics. I don't want to say, I strongly doubt it. Unfortunately, as much as I think it would be awesome for him to go again, 2 Olympics in a row. He does, in my opinion, he makes that short list.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think it's Bill Guerin who's the GM of Team USA. If I'm Bill and I'm the rest of that management team for Team USA, I'm thinking about him a lot.
Like I've got my eye on him.
Yeah. Because of all the different things that he can bring. You know, there's a lot more in his toolbox than I think a lot of other players who are on people's Team USA rosters in that forward group. And there I said it.
You said it. You said it.
Like, and maybe, and I gotta actually check some stats before people get mad at me for saying this. Because I think there are people who are listening who might be like, why would you say that? Yeah, no, I'm gonna say it. Even though he has 9 goals, I would bring Matthew Nyes over Chris Kreider.
Yeah.
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 I'd bring Matthew Nyes over Chris Kreider.
Yeah. I would.
And
it's not
that's
unreasonable.
that's my hot take of the episode. And I know Chris Kreider went to 4 Nations, but I just think that potentially you bring Matthew Nyes, who again isn't the fastest skater in the world because he's a fridge on skates and with arms. But I do think that there is more in his and people are gonna call me crazy because I'm talking about Chris Kreider right here. But I just think there's more there. And I think you have enough solid finishers on that roster that I think a guy who can, and now Team USA is a bunch of power forwards anyways, as it is. It's all program guys for the most part. But I think you have a guy whose ability to set up these 7,000 finishers that will be on Team USA a little bit better than Chris Kreider can, I think is more valuable to this roster. Younger, Chris Kreider is 232 pounds. Christ. I was about to say younger and bigger, and then I looked at how big Chris Kreider was, and I was like, oh
and
my god.
Well, definitely younger.
Younger. It's like that, younger and more beautiful.
Yeah. I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, Matthew Nyes is younger and more beautiful.
And I don't know, like, put like Matthew Nyes on a line with Matt Boldy.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I'm curious. Send Matthew Nyes to the Olympics. Put him on a line with Matt Boldy.
Do it.
I don't know who else I don't know who would be the third guy on that line. I'd have to like look at guys who went to camp and compare and look and like who went to that like orientation camp for Team USA because I can't really remember a whole lot of names off the top of my head. Oh. Maybe this wouldn't work, but maybe it could. No, that's more of a Worlds line. I don't think Shane Pinto will go.
He could be there in spirit. He'll be
like
there
Shane
in
Pinto
spirit.
got out to a really hot start to start the season. And now he's kind of cooled off a little bit, obviously, because he was shooting like 40% through the first like 2 weeks. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Now he's sort of like cooled off, obviously, as one does when you're shooting 40%. But if there's like a Worlds at some point, just put the 3 of them on a line. But like maybe even the Olympics, who knows? I don't know if Shane Pinto is going to go to the Olympics. He was just one of those names that I thought of that I was like, maybe. I don't know. Maybe someone can submit who they think would be a good third person on that line. I don't know. Who would be a good Team USA guy to throw there? But that being said, like, and the thing is with the Carolina game is that they were winning. Like the Leafs were winning 4-2 at one point in this game. They lost 5-4. And they had good chances. It's not like they didn't. William Nylander was inches away from a hat trick in this one. Couldn't do it. And they just fell apart. And like they fell apart in a way where you like you see like CHL teams do. Like you see you watch like a bad CHL team and you just watch them fall apart in the second half of a game. And that's like what happened to the Leafs, which is like you shouldn't be comparing a bunch of like, and I guess this is where John Tavares' immature comment comes in, because it's like now I'm sitting here comparing a roster of a bunch of like guys who are like, a lot of the guys are considered NHL veterans by now, and comparing them to a roster full of teenagers.
Like, if the shoe fits.
If the shoe, yeah, because it's like also a thing too, where it's like you make a lot of defensive mistakes, you allow your goalie to get peppered with shots, requiring him to stand on his head. Like quite literally, there was one save where Dennis Hildeby fell backwards after making a save. Like, and that's the thing. And you know, here my evaluation of Dennis Hildeby, he had a great game. Like, I know people are gonna look at the scoreboard and gonna be like, well, he allowed 5 goals. He had a great game. He had a great game.
It's like when you're losing, but it's like when your team is playing that badly in front of you. I don't think it's that bad.
It's not the goalie's fault that, like,
No.
It's not Dennis Hildeby's fault for why the Leafs lost this game. It was the Toronto Maple Leafs' fault. I guess I should say all the skaters. It's their fault. There was like too many turnovers, and it was awful and terrible. And I will also say, there were still some really nice goals in this one. John Tavares got one. Austin Matthews got one. William Nylander got 2. Your big guy showed up.
Yeah.
Sort of.
In a way.
They were there, like, but they didn't show up on the other half of the ice. There was like, their transition through the neutral zone was terrible. Obviously, this team still struggles with zone entries, which is ridiculous. I don't know why that hasn't been solved and how you haven't fixed that issue yet and why you haven't tried to fix it. PK was okay. Power play was, they scored on the power play, so you can't complain too much about it. I will say some of the officiating was a little odd, but I don't want to blame the refs for this one. I'm not like, there is some games where you sit there and you blame the refs for it and it's valid and it's true. This one, no. There was just some calls where I was like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But, and I will say also, I was at this game in Scotiabank Arena. My godfather took me to the game. And it was the first regular season game I've seen of the Leafs at home in a couple of years. Like, I would have to go back to like me being like before I was in university. I'd have to go back to be like when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh yeah, I would have to go way back. Yeah, to be when I was in high school. And like, I've seen the Leafs. I went to a playoff game last year. I've been to a preseason game this year, and I don't equate those to regular season games. And I understand this was a Sunday night game, which is a hard draw for the crowd, and you could see it. There were a fair amount of empty seats. Fair amount as in, like, for a Leafs game, it was noticeable, but not concerning. But it still was enough people where there are many teams in the NHL where you go, hey, this is a good turnout. This is a solid turnout sort of deal. But yeah, and I will say, and I noticed this early in the first period, if there wasn't a goal being scored or a scoring chance or a big save, like when it's just, and I don't want to explain this in a way where it's like, well, yeah, Emma, like the crowd's going to get loud for those, but like when it's just like just hockey, like just the hockey, just, you know, that part of the game, I hope that makes sense. Like, if there isn't a thing happening, that arena was quiet, like off-puttingly quiet, where you're sitting there and you notice it's quiet. And I don't know if it's, and again, maybe, I'd be able to, you know, have a little bit more knowledge if it's just because of the way the Leafs have been playing so far this season, or if this has just always been the way Scotiabank Arena has been the past few years, and you talk about suits and things like that. But it was like a thing where it was like, I was sitting there and I was like, hey, so maybe all the jabs from Sens fans was right. Because it was weird. Like, I don't expect it. Like, anytime there was a Go Leafs Go chant that was going around, even when the Leafs were up 2 goals, it was started by one of the, like, fan activation people. Like, like they have a hype squad. I think they call them the Blue Crew or whatever. But it was like it was started by the Leafs organization, I should say. It wasn't never like fan originated.
Yeah.
And you could tell because they would come out with these drums and you could hear the drum through the whole arena, right? Because it would also be just that quiet. I will say also as well, and maybe, you know, some of that comes from the fact that literally the day prior on Saturday, I was at a Flyers game, and Philadelphia sports fans are known for being loud, but like
Yeah.
the
Still.
The Flyers never had a lead in that game that I saw on Saturday. They were never leading.
Yeah.
At least not to my recollection. I don't think they ever were. I'm trying to remember now. They might have been at one point, but not for very long. And they ended up losing that game in overtime to Ottawa, but like it was loud, and I don't think I'm gonna call it the Fargoff accidentally because it's Xfinity Mobile Arena now, but it wasn't as full as Scotiabank was. So I know we can sit here and discuss Leaf fans and suits and corporate tickets and everything, and this has been an issue with this team for years, and it will probably continue to be an issue with this team for years, and how no real fans can afford tickets and blah 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 blah. And I know the organization is doing things to kind of counteract that. They've had fan access, which brings real fans into the building and all this sort of stuff and everything. But I think it's a thing too where it's Leaf fans are smart. I was listening to Steve Dangle podcast on Friday into my drive into work. And he brought up a really good point about how Leaf fans are smart. They know what they want and they understand the game, right? And I'm not saying other teams aren't, but they understand the game. So I think it was really telling when like the crowd would get loud. It's not like the crowd wasn't engaged in the game and they weren't paying attention, because they were cheering at the right moments and for good plays and for and big hits and things like that, big saves and stuff like that. And there was also other moments where you're like, oh, if you knew the game, you would understand why the crowd cheered then, and they did. And it's not like Leaf fans are smart, and I think that's part of it. They know what they want from this team, and I don't think they have really quite fully gotten it ever in this sort of past decade. And, I think also as well, I think it's a fair thing to say that this team isn't, the most inspiring team to watch right now. It's not the most engaging team to watch.
Absolutely not.
And I think there's a reason why you're seeing a lot of people, and also as well, the Jays going to the World Series, which ended a week and a bit ago, like 9 days ago, also doesn't help. There's still people who like basically ignored the month of October for the Leafs and we're like, I'm just gonna watch the Jays now because that's far more worth my attention.
Yeah.
And I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. And now the question is, and I think we talked about it last episode, where it's like the question is now is like there's starting to be questions about making coaching changes.
Like if it gets to a
Mid-season.
point.
Yeah. But also like I guess it's also hard because we're not in that room. We're not in the locker room. But has Craig Berube lost the room? Because
yeah, it's a possibility.
Because I know a lot of people can say, oh, well, he was a bad coach. I don't believe it would, if he was a bad coach, what is happening right now would be entirely on him in terms of the fact of like, it's obvious he's trying to tell the team something.
Yeah.
And is trying to solve an issue that's there. He either doesn't know how to solve it, in which case, bad coach, or he's actively trying to solve it because he knows how to fix it, but the players just aren't helping. I don't know. I think we're getting a lot more. This is what happens when I don't have notes in front of me. Is we start asking a lot of really big, tough questions that we may not have the answer
We
to.
start deeping it.
Yeah, I just am given no guidance, and I just go, here are my thoughts. But
Yeah.
I guess we're not really talking about games in a more recappy way than we would. It's a little bit more bigger concept than that, but I think it's a fair conversation to have. I mean, we can talk about other, news things as well. Joseph Wool, I mean, if you don't follow us on Twitter individually, I think you should, because you would have seen this news. But Joseph Wool started his conditioning stint over the weekend with the Marlies. He played against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Yes, I wasn't in attendance, and I think what's kind of crazy about it all is that this Allentown road trip that I went on, originally, the reason why it's called the Allentown trip is because it originally started with, hey, what if we drove down to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and saw the Marlies play the Phantoms, because then we would have seen, if they were all healthy. Back in July, we were like, oh, we'll see Oliver Bonk and Denver Barkey play against Landon Sim and Easton Cowan. Now, Bonk is hurt, Sim is hurt, but Barkey and Cowan are healthy. And Cowan was sent down this past week to the Marlies. That was cool, but we planned that like back in July when the AHL schedule came out. And then we added to it like, oh, well, we can also go see the Flyers on the same day at 1. Oh, this works out perfectly, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, and then as it gets closer, and, last week there was some chatter about, Joseph Wool getting close to returning to game action, potentially a conditioning stint in the AHL, or there's a strong chance that he's going to have a conditioning stint in the AHL. And you're like, oh, well, Marlies are on a 3-week road trip, so they're not going to wait till he's at home. Like, it's going to have to be on the road if it's going to be sometime this month. What's coming on. And then we're quite literally in the car on the way to drive to Philly, and the news comes through that Joseph Wool is starting his conditioning stint that weekend. And we're like, well, they play today in Hershey, and he's doing a media availability in Toronto on the Friday. So we're like, so he has to be playing on Saturday. So it looks kind of crazy. Because
the way that it worked out.
The way that it worked out is nuts. Because I think it looks a little bit crazy, because it looks like we were like, oh, he's going to start, let's drive down. But we quite literally had this trip planned.
You've been talking to me about this for so long.
I know. And so it was just like by chance that it ended up working.
It's like he knew. He went,
It's
oh,
like,
damn. I gotta show up for Emma.
it was kind of crazy. Like, it was just by chance, like, that it so happened, and it worked out pretty perfectly, because the Friday morning before I left for work, I had like last minute thrown in my Wool jersey into my bag. I was like, you know what, just in case, and I'll wear it, and I'm so glad that I did.
Oh.
Because that was pretty cool. And yeah, and I'll talk about, so since I was like one of very few people who actually watched that game, both from like what it seems like with Toronto media, like Leafs media, and also among Leaf fans, because there was a Leafs game that same night, I don't think there was a lot of Leafs media that actually watched the game and instead just looked at like the stats afterwards.
Yeah.
So someone who watched that game, because I was there, Joseph Wool, like, Elliot Friedman tweeted out before even the Marlies game started that Joseph Wool would probably only play about half, which makes sense, because I think a lot of people need to remember that this is his preseason right now. He had his couple weeks of being back skating with the team as a training camp, and now he's getting into his preseason. So obviously, what we see it all the time, and we saw it this year with preseason. Like goalies don't tend to go the full game in the preseason, and until they've played at least one, right? Slowly get back up to speed, blah 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 blah. So it's no surprise that he only played half. Now he played 36 minutes, and I think the reason why he didn't play, he went for longer than 30 was because, again, and you would only really know this if you watched the game, there wasn't a really nice, like, natural stoppage until after 10 minutes into the second period, until 6 minutes after that, until the 16th minute. They're just like, there wasn't really...
Yeah, it just wasn't there.
It just wasn't there, right? Like, you can't just, like, call, like, have an icing call and have a face-off and switch goalies. Like, you kind of need to find the right time to do it. So Pesca went in for him after the 36th minute. Some more number stats. On 24 shots faced, Joseph Woll allowed 3 goals, so he saves 21 shots, which is an .875 save percentage, which is fine. He faced some great chances, I think, as well. The chances that he did allow, there was only one where I was like, oh, you kind of want that one back. All of the other one, like the other two, you're like, well, there's some good players in the AHL. We'll say thing is, first shot of the game that he faced, mask pops off, and you're like, well, welcome back, Joseph.
Yeah.
But I think he played well, and I think, he'll obviously get a couple more games before he rejoins the Leafs. But I think if all goes according to plan, we should, probably see him back in Toronto playing for the Leafs before the end of this month. Fingers crossed. I mean, he did, like we said, he did talk to the media on Friday, which was his first media availability of the season, and his first media availability since going on a leave of absence and returning from it. He did not address, well, he actually had a really great statement that he said before he started answering questions that I think was really, really well spoken and really well said. As he is, he's a very well-spoken individual, but simply said, like, thank you to the Leafs organization, thank you to his teammates, does not want to cause a distraction. He won't say at the moment why he missed time. He said he might address it at a later date when he feels comfortable. Totally fine. We don't need to know why he missed time. It's whatever. His prerogative if and when he wants to share it. And said he didn't want to be a distraction. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, we don't need to know. And I think also a thing too where it's like, it's fine. And I think, it's good for him. And it's nice to have him back for sure in game action for sure. I think it's hopefully going to help maybe right the ship a little bit with the Leafs.
Yeah. I hope
because
so.
he does seem like he's a very well-liked guy in that locker room.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully it helps in that regard. But that, I think that's all I'll say about just, I'm trying to remember if I wanted to say anything else. Oh, Easton Cowan looked pretty great in his game with the Marlies as well, that I saw when I was in Allentown. So yeah, that's all about the Leafs talk, I think. Well, I guess we should address when their next game is. I'm realizing that now. Their next game is Tuesday. They are in Boston. And then we'll play on Thursday in LA. Oh, against LA in Toronto. So I was gonna say in LA. I was like, no, I was looking at the wrong thing. I was like, it's too early for the it's too early for the California road trip.
Please.
Yeah. Please don't do that. Don't do it to me this week.
No.
A different week, perhaps. I guess we can talk about some other news. The PWHL announced their Takeover tour for this season, where there will be 16 stops. Hold on. I want to make sure I get the number of cities right. I think it's 16 stops in 12 cities. 16 stops across 11 cities. They are going to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Chicago, Illinois, Edmonton, Dallas, Hamilton, Detroit, Quebec City, Washington, D.C., Denver, Winnipeg, Calgary, and I believe, yeah, that is it. Yeah, those are the cities. There are a couple new ones on there. That all seems really exciting. For sure. I think there are some cities on there that really excite people.
Yeah.
I think also as well, Takeover Tour, open secret that it is kind of a scouting for potential new expansion franchises, especially with how aggressively the PWHL is talking about expanding in the next couple of years. So we will see. There's a lot of really intriguing cities on that name. Hamilton is one of them that is getting two. They are getting 2 games, which is big because it's talk about potentially having a team in Hamilton, and Toronto's quite close. So we'll see, how that turnout goes out for the Takeover Tour. We'll see. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. But yeah, that is really exciting. The first game is of the first game of the Takeover Tour is December 17th, Montreal versus Toronto and Halifax. So that's really exciting.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be really fun. And it's really exciting for those cities to get a PWHL game there for the fans there to to get to see PWHL hockey action. I just love that the PWHL does this because it helps grow the fan base outside of the cities of just where the teams are located. And it also allows cities to and fans in those cities to kind of have an influence on, I feel, obviously, there's other factors at play, but definitely have an influence on whether their city gets an expansion team or not. There was obviously a really great turnout in Vancouver and Seattle with past Takeover tours that led to them getting an expansion, to both of those cities getting expansion franchises.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. PWHL season is underway soon. First game of the season is November 21st, which is coming up really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, gonna talk about Team Canada Olympic jerseys. They're ugly.
They're so bad.
They're so bad. And it's a thing too where I'm sure there's a lot of newer hockey fans who maybe didn't watch the 2022 Winter Olympics or didn't pay that much attention to them, or just didn't really pay that much attention to the discourse on Team Canada hockey jerseys during that time. But this year's Olympic jerseys are very similar to last Olympics jerseys. They're same logo, front crest, same idea with the 2 stripes and everything, and same colors, things like that. Same colors, obviously, but you get my idea.
Yeah.
And there was discussion then about them being ugly. And now there's discussion about them again, and the stripes don't go all the way around. which is dumb. The stripes are 2 different colors, which is dumb. I hate the black logo with the red trim on the black jersey. Can we stop doing that?
Bad.
Can we stop doing black on black, please? It's another thing too where it's like, why even make the black jersey? Because you're at the Olympics, you don't wear a third. Like at the Olympics, teams don't wear a third jersey. This is obviously just a way to like for Hockey Canada to sell more jerseys because people will buy whatever jerseys, but like
don't want to see it. It's a really terrible
I don't want to
jersey.
see it. It's a terrible jersey. And I hate the logo, and I will say I will address something because I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but because the jerseys that you can buy as a fan are Bauer. Now, in all of the promotional shoots that we've seen from Hockey Canada of the players in the jerseys, they are Nike jerseys. Now, the reason for that is because the IIHF is the official jersey sponsor of not the IIHF. The Nike is the official jersey sponsor of the IIHF. That means all teams who play in IIHF sanctioned tournaments must wear Nike jerseys. You follow? Now the problem is not problem, but following the 2018 Team Canada World Juniors allegations and everything and the consequences towards Hockey Canada, and that is that Nike pulled out of their Hockey Canada sponsorship, meaning Hockey Canada cannot sell Nike jerseys to fans. So now Bauer is making the jerseys. So that's why the jerseys that are available to fans are a different brand than the jerseys that the players are wearing. Only for Team Canada. For every other sporting organization, for every hockey organization, I should say, for every other country, you can, if you're a fan and, those jerseys get available for sale, you'll be able to buy a Nike jersey. It is only for Team Canada due to the fact of Nike pulling out of their sponsorship with Hockey Canada that now you have this different thing going on, which is interesting only in the ways, like, I don't think we've seen that, where, like, the jersey manufacturer for the players is a different company than the ones that fans can buy. Like, I know we have it with Fanatics, but, like, you can still, when it was Adidas making the player jerseys, you could still buy an Adidas jersey as a fan. I don't know. It's just very interesting. Like, it's
so ugly as well.
But they are so horrifically ugly. I'm sorry. I hate that maple leaf logo on the front. I think it looks horrendous.
So bad.
And
yeah, no, they're just horrendous.
I don't like it. I don't like. The only difference between the last Olympics and these ones is that the 2022 Olympics had these weird shoulder pads. Like, I'm literally looking at them side by side. That is the only difference. I think maybe the arm stripes are at the same place. Oh, maybe they're a little bit lower, so you can
annoy me so much.
I think maybe they're a little bit lower, so you can put you can move the number, like the sleeve number, down more so from the shoulder to like the middle of the arm, like move it off the shoulder. But like, oh my, I'm like scrolling through. I quite literally looked Team Canada Olympic jerseys, and I'm like scrolling through previous ones. And there's some really pretty ones. Like 2014, where it had like the stripe across the chest. And then the cut out leaf in the middle. And like, so like the stripe across the chest, like, so for the home red ones, it was a red jersey with a white stripe across the middle of the chest. And then the leaf was cut out, like there was a cutout, so then there was a red leaf in the middle, and then it had Canada underneath. Those were cool. Um, I mean, even just like the 2010 ones were nice.
Oh, the 2010 ones are so nice.
With the you had like the full shoulders and the leaf was a little bit smaller and you would can underneath. And maybe there is some nostalgia there with golden goal and like winning everything and all that sort of stuff, but just like
Still.
I don't know, 2018 with the sleeves, like 2018 had a really cool one with the sleeve, what they did on the sleeves. Hold on. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about. I'm gonna send you a picture. I want to send you a picture of like them all. Here we go. This is not like a great picture because it's not one of them on like a player. But I want to make sure you like with the geographic sort of sleeve design. That one was cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one.
That
One.
was nice.
Why we ever moved away from that is beyond me. I don't know why we ever moved away from 2018.
No. There's just no
Like
need.
there was no need. And like yeah, it still had the same concept for the maple leaf in the front. Again, I don't know why we keep doing these stupid black third jerseys that never get worn in a game
Please
ever.
stop.
Stop doing it. And it's like I get it. Like I don't mind the inclusion of black into like the design of the other two because I understand it. With the Olympics, there are so many countries that have red and white as their flags. That's just the nature of the Olympics. So you have to try and differentiate yourself away from that. And Canada has always been adding third colors to all of this for the Olympics. They do it. I mean, alpine skiing used to be like they used to have these ugly yellow and red race suits, these ugly spider yellow and red race suits. And I remember them because you could buy them for your like you could sell if you could buy like not like the actual race like you could buy that design of a race suit when I was a kid and it was the ugliest thing in the entire world. But it was like this like bright yellow. Terrible, terrible.
Yeah.
But they've been doing that. They've now switched to blue, I think, in the past couple, I think it's the past 2 Olympics. They've switched away from yellow and switched into using blue as a third color. Curling is the same way using blue. You need another color there because there are so many other countries, especially at the Winter Olympics, that are red and white. So I understand the inclusion of the black. I'm not against the black. I think it's probably far better than any other color option you could do. I do think we need to stop making the black third jerseys for the sake of making a black third jersey because they never get worn in the tournament. And so it's obvious just to make them for fans to buy them and for you to make money off of fans buying jerseys. But I just think, can we stop doing it? Can we stop? Because they never look as good.
No.
But yeah, I get it. These
Nowhere
Team Canada
near.
ones, I get it. These Team Canada ones like have the same almost like a similar hockey like not hockey but the similar front logo as the current ones, but I think just with the sleeves and the fact that the leaf is a little bit bigger and the shapes in it are a little bit more defined and you have Canada across the bottom, like I think it's just that much better in my opinion.
Miles
But
better.
especially then when you like saw the Canada jerseys, and I think it was like 12 hours later, Finland released theirs. And I don't know if you've seen Finland's Olympic jerseys for this year. I can send you a picture.
Let's have a nose.
I want to try and find this year. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna send them to you. They quite literally they were announced and released about
They're
like
gorgeous.
12 hours later than after Canada released theirs. So you do that, like
beautiful.
Canada does that, everyone calls them ugly, and then Finland stands you up
Yeah.
like that.
You are getting shown up.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada. What have you done? Yes,
I'm like,
definitely not the finest.
yes, of course. Also as well, Hockey Hall of Fame induction was this weekend. Congratulations to all the inductees. It's very exciting. Always this time of year. Um, I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else, and I think we might end it here. Just like one last. But yeah, I think with that being said, we'll finish this episode here. It's a long one. We kind of went a little bit deep on the Leafs as we tend to do on Mondays. We will be back on Thursday with another episode. In the meantime, make sure to follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line Fourth with the number 4TH. You can also find the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you miss us between episodes because you think we're hilarious,
So funny.
or you want to see more of our opinions on the Toronto Maple Leafs, you can go follow us over at Twitter at 60Leafs or Ella at PairB1 for myself. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back on Thursday. And in the meantime, go Leafs
Go
go.
Leafs go.
With the question mark at the end.
Well, you know what?